For years, if you had $200 to spend on a grinder, you just bought the basic default grinder, the Breville Smart Grinder Pro. But this 63mm conical burr grinder just showed up on my doorstep, and it made me wonder if the default one is the wrong coffee grinder for your kitchen, and whether this little guy beats the other one and blows it out of the water. This is the Guy Moore GU63. So let's check it out. G'day mate, my name's Ryde, your coffee coach, and I want to share with you my thoughts on the GU63 and whether it really does replace pretty much every other entry-level grinder out there on the market. As of now, this is unreleased, this grinder, but they are going into pre-sales, and I'll give you the link below. I don't make anything from this machine, just I'm doing this video for you. Oh, and by the way, I made this video with my editor. We are both humans and not AI. Yes, of course, I know an AI robot would probably say that, but I am actually a human, we both are. And if you want to support human-made content, please like and subscribe. Thanks a lot, you bloody legend. So who is the company behind Guy Moore? Well, it's a company called Wirsch. They're a US-based company that has a manufacturing roots in China, and they were made famous for their Kickstarter campaign bringing out the GU68, which was that really interesting, unique looking, I don't know, it's hard to describe, round, cylindrical grinder, flat burr grinder. It looked super unique, and I'm going to be getting my hands on one of those, so stick around for the next couple of months because I'll be doing a review on that as well. And as we know from a lot of companies that are producing equipment out of China, they have got their manufacturing down to a T. No longer are they producing any of that cheap plasticky stuff that they've associated with maybe back in the 80s or 90s. They are producing high quality, solid gear without all of that capitalistic and green fat margins that the Western civilization like to put on everything. So what that means for you is that you get cheaper products that are still of a really high quality. And that's what the GU63 feels like to me. And the brand Guy Moore is actually a little nod to a late composer out of Japan called Ryuichi Sakamoto. I probably butchered his name, I'm so sorry. The essence is that they're blending the harmonies of nature with delicate fine grinding of coffee. Now, I really think they might have captured some of that in their design aesthetic, and that's what I want to talk about first. Look at the design overall. It is beautiful. The external build to this really surprised me. It looks like a professional prosumer grinder. It doesn't look like that entry-level, cheap aluminium, plasticky type of appliance that you'd normally see in, say, a Harvey Norman's or something like that. This would sit on your bench and make you look like you know what you're doing when it comes to coffee, even if you don't. It's all metal parts. There's no plasticky parts. The only plasticky part is this tiny little doser feed that slows down the coffee grinds as it's pouring in. That's the only part that's plastic in it. The rest of it is solid, and it weighs a bomb, but this weighs a lot more than it looks like. This is about 3 kilos, just that solid unit. And that's about 6 pounds for those of you who still use that 1,000-year-old numbering system, which feels like they just randomly pull numbers out of a hat to measure things. And I have to say, you're really great at mathematics if you can still work out how many yards and how many football lengths and how many quarts there are to a gallon and all of that, because I can't, that's for sure. But for the rest of us who are just using the metric system, it's 3 kilos and such a tiny footprint. Like, it's 30 centimeters tall. But look at the size of that. That's not even as big as my palm. Really, really tiny footprint, especially compared to some of the other appliance machines, which take up about double that size and look quite ugly in terms of their look. Yes, it doesn't have any LED or LCD screens, but this is just your entry level. This is really aimed at your entry level single doser grinder market. And I think what you get for that is exceptional. Now, it does only come in the matte black at the moment, and I hope they do produce a white because I really do love having that alternate option. But at the moment, as it stands, if you have a black machine like a Profitec Go, or you've got your Turin Legato or one of those other machines, I do really feel like this is a perfect companion to that sort of machine. Now, I do need to let you know that I got this machine from Wirsch to do this review, but my thoughts are my own, and I'll tell you exactly what I love about it, what I don't really like about it, and I'll help you decide whether this is the perfect machine for you. Because at the end of the day, you are the one that gets the benefit of this, not me. And that reminds me, I want to ask you to please pop in the comments if you would be interested in joining a Patreon or a membership program or something where we could collectively buy these machines, so it's not just out of my pocket, I'm happy then to ship them anywhere around the world, along with some coffee, maybe some merch, and we could do a monthly giveaway of some sort just to make sure that I can get onto these machines that you want to see, and I don't always have to spend my own money to do so or beg and borrow from other people. But let me know in the comments what content you'd like to see, like you'd want to see behind the scenes, you want to see me dialing in, you want to see something. I don't know what other content you would like if I was to set up something like that. What platform would it be? And would it be a membership on YouTube or would it be something like a Patreon? But yeah, I really want to know, because that would then open up whether I actually can do more of these reviews for you. And everyone who is in that membership would go in the draw to win one of these machines every time after I review it. Now, let me tell you about the internal specs of this grinder. So it's actually a massive 63 conical burr grinder. That's about double the size of most of the other entry-level appliance grinders, and even up there with some of the other top-end grinders. And what does conical versus flat burr mean? Well, it really means for you, whether you're into high clarity, really light roast espressos or filter Nordic roast, and you really want that high acidity, that fruity, thin body, very high clarity with, you know, a lot of those sour sort of flavors in there, then that's a great way to go to a flat burr. If you want more of the heavy body, heavy mouth feel, more viscous, sort of deep flavored, medium roast espressos, more towards traditional end of things, but not obviously dark roast, but that sort of one, then the conical burr grinders are great for that. And so that's really the difference if you're choosing between a conical and flat burr. But having a massive 63 mil conical size burr means that you're going to have more contact area on your coffee, and that means it's going to grind your beans a lot more quickly. Grinders like the Niche Zero, if you've seen that grinder and you really like that, that has a 63 mil conical burr grinder as well. I'm not saying this is exactly the same as the Niche Zero, and it's definitely not in the same class, but certainly is creeping up towards that, and I'll get to that in a bit. But for those of you who like that syrupy, heavy body, then the conical burr grinders are the way to go. And the other thing that you benefit you get with a conical burr grinder, and this particular one, is that it has a really low RPM, that's revolutions per minute. That's 100 revolutions per minute, which is super low, meaning that it's not going to heat up your coffee as it's grinding. Because it's so low, but the conical burrs are so big, you get more contact area, which crushes your beans faster than it normally would, even though it's rotating very slowly. Means there's no heat transference, which means you're not going to lose any of those yummy oils and sugars that should end up in your coffee. And I do want to mention that obviously if you're looking at buying a niche grinder and you want to save yourself a ton of money, this might be worth looking at. Now, sorry, actually it's 110 RPM, not 100 RPM, but either way, it's still super slow, and it's about 2 or 3 times slower than your average appliance grinder. That does mean it takes longer to grind, and that is one of the things that you have to be aware of with these sort of grinders, is that you're gonna have to apply a bit of patience. I measured it, and it's about 15 seconds to do 10 grams, so you're probably looking about half a minute to do your normal dose of coffees. Having said that, the grind comes through super fluffy, super consistent, and very little clumps whatsoever. Unlike your other appliance grinders that will really have to compromise on that, and you'll have to do some WDT, you'll have to do some coffee puck preparation afterwards, this just delivers really fluffy, consistent grinds, and with very little retention. I measured the retention in it, and in some grinders, the appliance size grinders, you're looking at 2, 3, 4 grams of grind that always get left up inside the chamber, which then sits there for a day if you're only making one coffee, at least a couple of minutes while you're making your second coffee. That comes through, and then the next day you're going to have leftover grinds as well. This says it has 0.1 gram retention. That's 0.1 gram. I measured it. A lot of the time I'm getting exactly, so it's even less than 0.1. I can prove that. I filmed it so you can see it exactly in the research. That I was really impressed with. Because it has the bellows on top, yes, you get about a gram left in there, but you pump down on the bellows and you'll get all of that extra grind. And one thing I really love about this is the ease of which you can just undo and access the blades. You can literally just unwind it, and you've got access to the burrs right there, so you can quickly clean it. And if you're looking inside, you'll notice that there's very little area for the grinds to sit. Impeller blade as well is actually made of steel. And I know this is a big bugbear with a lot of the appliance machines. I get so many customers bringing them into the cafe going, my grinder is spinning, but no coffee's coming out. And I know immediately that that's the impeller blade, because on these appliance grinders, they put in a plastic impeller blade. The impeller blade is what helps move the conical burrs around, gives it that extra power. They make them out of plastic, so of course, over a year or two, they just wear down to nothing, and then it's just spinning around, and it can't actually push your burrs enough to push the coffee out. This is an aluminium or a steel one. You can see that there's very little space for the coffee to sit, and it just goes straight into the chamber and comes into the little dosing ring here. To clean it, it's so easy. Just pull that out, and then that just sits back on top, slots into place, put that in, rewind the grinder back up. It always seems to go back to the exact same spot. So the alignment of the burrs is actually really good. So I've found that keeping this clean, super easy. You would not be able to keep a normal appliance grinder anywhere near as clean as this. I really love that about this feature. Another little feature I really love is that this magnetic dosing cup, it's super strong. It's crazy strong, but it's magnetic. So it just slots into place, and sometimes it even just sticks onto the other surface, like my scales and stuff like that, if they've got any magnetic sensitivity to it. Inside is also an anti-static plasma ionizer, and that just helps keep the grinds nice and fluffy as they pour into the dosing cup, and very little retention. I've noticed a couple of times when you do pump it, some of the fines go into the air, and the distribution of particles is a little bit wider, but certainly not as wide as a lot of other grinders. In fact, I think it's pretty good considering this level of grinder. And it's super clean. I did a review on the Fellow Opus grinder, and as much as I love that grinder, it makes a hell of a mess. And they may have fixed it with the Gen 2, but I haven't used that yet to know whether it's really that clean. But this was very, very clean. Other than knocking this bellows too hard and some of the fines coming out, it is very, very good at keeping your bench top nice and clean, for those of you who find that very important. Today I'm going to be using the Costa Rican coffee, which is from the Zeladon province, and it is delicious. It's a washed coffee, it's a Caturra and Typica, and it has flavors of like a malt and a maple and a sweet spices. So it's a really delicious coffee. You can have it black or cut through milk beautifully. And if you want, you can jump on the website and purchase some. Just go to coffeebeansdelivered.com.au or groundsoforigin.com, and you can purchase some of these beans for yourself. Now let's taste here, so we'll test them out. I'm going to put in 22 and a half, 22.8, 22 and a half there. Although it's not the quickest, that 22.5, so 0.1 gram, and it actually was at 5 before, it's just docked down a bit, so it's less than 0.1 of a gram. We'll make a coffee. So it's a very good shot that actually came out of the Guy Mori. I'm going to pour that onto there. That's actually super smooth, really well balanced. There's some sweetness there. It's a little bit on the lemony side, which is probably just a slight under extraction. It's 25 seconds. I'd probably want it to push up to 28. Still lovely, and obviously you can dial it in. It's a stepless grinder. It does go up to 85, but it's 1,000 different things in there, and you can really set it to whatever you want. But it goes from as low as Turkish coffee, and this is already at 25, or just under 25, and that's on a commercial machine, which normally you have to grind a bit finer on a commercial machine just because of the power. This still has a lot of room to go finer if I want to do Turkish coffee, and a lot of room more if I want to go up to filter coffee, plunger coffee, and it's really easy. It just literally goes up like that, goes up to 80. It can go past 80, but I think you get to a point where you can't actually go any further, and the burrs aren't going to actually catch, but that's how you unwind it to when you want to clean it. Super easy, and I love the flexibility of having so many different steps. Unlike on generic machines where you have maybe 30 steps and 10 of them are for espresso, this has infinite steps pretty much, and so many of them can be used for espresso, and then you can go finer to Turkish, and you can go coarser, filter, plunger, and cold brew, all of that. So you've got plenty of room to really fiddle around with and dial in perfectly for your machine, which I think is huge for this type of grinder. Who should buy this machine? Well, I think if you already have a nice machine like Profitec Go or a Rancilio, or any sort of, even if you've got a Linear Mini, something like that, that's you've got a little bit, but you don't have a huge budget for it, then this is a perfect little grinder. I think these are $199 pre-release, so they're selling right at the moment. There's a link below. Remember, I don't earn anything from this. I'm literally doing this to help you guys. But if you want, you can jump on now and get one of these in a pre-release sale, $199 US. They will jump up to $299 after the pre-release, which is a little bit more expensive. And I think at $199, it like blows the other entry-level ones out of the water, because that's how much an entry-level machine costs you anyway. So this over something like your Breville Smart Grinder Pro, way, way better value from that, unless you don't want the single doser. When it gets to $299, then you're kind of creeping up in a little bit, and there's some other players in the market there that you have to consider as well. Certainly if you're wanting to get rid of your appliance grinder and upgrade it, this makes you look and feel like a professional barista. I think if you're into your filter coffees and your Nordic roast, and you really want to highlight some of those clarities and those sort of citrus flavors, this is probably not the grinder. But if you want more of a traditional, heavy, viscous, really sweet and a medium roast coffee, then this is the grinder that I really would recommend if you're just wanting to dip your toes into before you get into spending thousands of dollars on a grinder. However, like something like the Niche Zero, which a lot of people can't afford to buy that, you've got the same size conical burr grinder for a fraction of the cost. So even if you can't push this to get that 99.9% extraction that you could do on a Niche, it's not a bad compromise. And I think for the price difference, you'd really have to consider this machine, because it's a very good alternative, even if it isn't really in the same class. Anyway, I hope this video helps you decide on whether this is the right grinder for you or not. If you did, let me know in the comments below. I'm Ryde, your coffee coach, and as always, enjoy your brew.